Hello, I'm back. It's now Sunday evening. I've just been pottering most of the day, to be fair, picking up some bits and sorting out. Picked up a scaffold kit, so which worked really well with this floor. Actually, it hasn't destroyed it, so I'm happy about that. I've had a bit of an explore under the van, trying to figure out a route to get the cable for this. This thing, which is a beep or beep when I put my van in reverse. I'm trying to obviously it's got to go outside, otherwise it'll just be beeping inside. So I've been looking at where to put it. I think I'm going to tuck it under the bumper in this corner, where it can't get wet. It's not going to get damaged. I mean, it's waterproof anyway, but whatever. And I was going to run the cables for it up with the up into the vehicle with these cable for the reverse sensors. It comes up down here somewhere, so I'm going to take this off, which I've got to do anyway to insulate, and drop a bit flex down there for the moment as a pull cord, so I can put it up into here while I insulate this. That's the plan. And then once it's in there, I can then fish it up here into this, which in this is the wiring loom all the way from the front of the van, all the way down here. And I've got other cables I need to put in there anyway, so I'll get it in. I hope, to be fair, for the for this, I might not even need to take it all the way up there. If I can wire it into the back of the light to pick up the reverse for obviously the sounding, which is the red cable, and then the black one is obviously negative. The orange one is if I want it to be quiet, to, well, not come on if the side lights are on, for example. So in the evening, when everybody's asleep, it doesn't annoy the neighbours when I get home, sort of jobby. But I'm not 100% sure whether I'll wire that in or not. I'm just trying to find a good place to put you guys, and I think it's going to be all the way over here, so you've got the best sort of view. I have ordered well, not a GoPro, but a knockoff. Yes, I know, I've been burnt by knockoffs before, so what? A camera's a camera at the end of the day. So let's pull this off and see what we've got. That's while I can insulate behind it as well. So, in here we've got this wiring loom, and you can generally tell which direction the wiring loom comes and goes from, right, being thicker at one end than the other. So you got that's the connection there for going through that grommet down there to the reversing sensors, and then along here that's an earthing point. Come on, focus, you silly thing. Yeah, there. That's the earthing point for the back end of the van, or this side of it. There'll be another one on the other side probably. And obviously the loom's getting thinner, so this comes along here, and then will terminate in there on the locking mechanisms for the door. Almost certainly that's as far as it'll go. So it comes all the way from the front of the van down here, down there, and along to there on this side, and obviously it goes over the top down the other side to the lights on that side, along the back there. It'll end there as well. So that's what that's all about. Because the door loom, all the electrics in the door will have to come from this corner It can't come from over there, because obviously the door slides this way and you'd have a cable stretched across the doorway otherwise. Right, so now I've jabbered, what am I going to do with this is I'm going to thread myself a bit of cable. Which I've got, being an electrician, I've got flipping stacks of it. Through that grommet, so I can get it on the other side. And then I'll find some tie wraps, which I know I've got because I've seen them, and tie it along that loom, because that's obviously a route that cables can take through this van without causing any problems whatsoever. It's safe for the cables, so it'll be safe. Safe for the cables for the van, so it'll be safe for my extra cables. Why are wires always a tangle? Answers on a postcard, please. Whatever. Oh, it's 4-core. I only need 3 for this, and to be fair, I will probably only use 2. I'm not too fussed about bothering the neighbours. I don't know how loud this thing is though, so I'll wire it up, try it, and then if I think it's too loud I'll connect the other option. But at least we've got all 3 of those cables up here. It's easier to deal with than when it's underneath. So let's do that. I thread this in, and then while this is all open up here, I will get some of the fluffy insulation. I think I will use the fluffy stuff and pack it in here. I'm truly debating whether this panel being in here is worth all the aggro of it being in the way, or just break the single remaining clipping point so I can actually see what I'm doing. If I move you, hopefully. Now this is LSF cable, so it's a bit hardier than regular flex. Hopefully it'll put up with the abuse it's going to get. I mean, this stuff's wrapped like this more to keep it together than to protect it. Well, it's already insulated against, it's already got single core of insulation. So I'm hoping this should do. Should be more than a hang ductwork. I'm not an auto electrician, I'm an electrician. I deal with things a bit more beefier than your 12 volts. So, but your cables that take 12 volts in your car are a bit more abused than your cables in a house, which just stay still all the time. These ones vibrate and bounce around, so they've got to be capable of dealing with that, and this should be. Well, one thing's for sure, the grommet's a tight fit, it won't need a tie wrap. This is not going through it very quickly. That's where the light is. There, okay. So the other thing I will be adding at some point, which needs connection to the reverse light, is a reversing camera. So when I attach this cable to the back light here, I will probably also put a coil of single core wire in here, long enough to reach to where I want the reverse camera to go. At a later date, so I don't have to do the joint twice. Right. Okay, I will be back in a minute. Alright, well, my soldering iron was dead on arrival, so that's real helpful. Only just bought it, so I'll send that back. I am going to use the brown, black and grey of this cable. I don't need that one, I only need 3 cores. So I'm going to try using my heat gun. I've already tried it to melt solder and it does do that. So I'm hoping that I can use it to solder this, because I want to get this done today. And then I can insulate that and put that back together and that's done. Ideally. I'm going to put some heat shrink over it. Protect it from the weather. And when you're doing a lot of just identifying cables, you don't use brown, black and grey very often, because obviously cables have brown, black and grey in it. Usually you end up using the green and yellow and the blue the most, so I've got stacks of this stuff left over, so I'm just going to literally use it liberally. I'd rather have too much over it than not enough. Although that's probably very excessive. I'm probably only going to need something like that much. Realistically, aren't I? Yeah. There we go. As long as I slide them right down there, I'll be well away from the heat for the moment. Hoping you can see what I'm doing. There we go. I'm also hoping this doesn't melt in the heat too much. Shouldn't do. Right. Let's do the obvious one first, shall we? If this doesn't work, all it's going to do is melt a black puddle of plastic, and you guys will get to laugh. And that is going to be a darn sight better in a car than a Wago or a screw connector or anything like that. Or car, a vehicle. I just realised I missed something. I should have put that on first. Oh, I'm an idiot. Right. So, brilliant. Let's cut that off. Cut those off. And try again. I am an idiot. Put your hands up if you ever forgot to put a shroud on an armoured gland and done it all up before you got that. Before you realised you put it on and put it on. And any of you that say you haven't forgotten to do that are lying. that's them done. Jointed. Right, now then what we will do is if that folds along there and that goes over the top of that, and the same for each one, like so. You can now do them one at a time, they're probably easier. And then slide that over the top of all three. Just a little warm. Just a little bit warm, aren't you? Aye, 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 aye. There's a couple of reasons I'm putting the heat shrink over it. One is obviously insulation, which the individual ones on the individual joints cover. This is more to hold it all together, keep it from sort of spreading out everywhere, but also it's another layer of insulation. Hopefully none of it rubs through. It also, because it will go down tight around them, should hopefully keep any moisture out. There we go. That's where I'm planning to hook it up. It's going to be up and out and fairly shielded underneath. Alright. Here, come and say hello to the underside of my van. Right, there he is in. Let's see, I've screwed him in on each side. That's his cables, tied wrap to the cable, the other cable that's coming up. The reverse sensor cable which goes around there. There's another plug there for some reason. I got two plugs on it. Not for me necessarily, but there you go. And hopefully, just take a look. Yeah, I've not pinched those cables at all. They're going in through their entrance, which is perfect. So yeah, that's it under here. And it's on the passenger side of the vehicle, but there's this plate directly underneath it. So hopefully up there, looking at it, it doesn't look like it gets too grubby anyway. So hopefully it won't get too bad up there and too wet. Should be, it is designed to be outside anyway, and obviously outside underneath the vehicle, so it should be good enough. Alright, see you in a bit. Alright, I'm back inside. So I've threaded my cable up, I've chopped it, I've cleaned it up, and I've poked it through there. I've stuck it through that clip there. I just want to put a couple of cable ties around it, and then I'm going to start on the next bit. I'll put a cable tie around it. It doesn't really need an awful lot. I'm going to wait till I've got a working soldering iron before I solder it onto the actual lighting cables themselves, because I had a look and there's not enough room really to get the heat gun in there. So I don't want to melt everything else. So I'm going to use, if I take you off there actually and put you further back, this is part of the template I made for the floor. So I'm going to reuse it. In this gap behind that, and then I'll put some of the fluffy stuff in there as well. But my thought is I may as well reuse it. I don't want to do the ceiling though. No, too many holes in it. So I'm just going to trim this down, make it fit in here. And then I'll put the fluffy stuff over it as well. Since I've got stacks of this stuff, it seems pointless to waste it and throw it out. It's only used as a template, there's no reason for it to just be binned. You're never going to get perfect coverage, and not everything is ever always going to be covered. I want to have gaps in the doors and things and everywhere else, but the more you put in, the better. And then under here, I'm just going to use some more carpet glue. Always use that stuff in a well ventilated area. So for this van, I've got the door open at the other side, and the back door's fully open, so I've not exactly got a breeze through, but I have air flow of a car. Now under here I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to put the fluffy stuff in there first, and I'm going to put that over the top because that'll just hang down and be held down by that. All honesty, I don't think I'm going to put this back. I don't think there's a purpose or a point. Quite frankly, because that does, the thicker wooden board will do the same thing. So I'll just grab the insulation. I think I'm starting to get to bits I could actually probably do on my driveway now rather than have to keep coming to my parents, but if I come to my parents I get free food. And everybody knows that Mum, doesn't matter how old you get, Mum's cooking is always the best cooking you're ever going to taste. And this stuff is non-itchy, it's, as I said before, it's made from recycled plastic bottles. I wouldn't necessarily go about inhaling it, but I'm just going to take that off there and stick it back to itself, just to hold it out of the way. Yeah, I don't think it's going to do me any harm. It's actually quite nice to work with. And it just pulls apart like that. It's so easy. So much nicer to work with than actual fiberglass. If I remember going to re-insulate my loft or something, I will spend a little bit extra and get that stuff. Because at least I'll be healthy afterwards. I'm not covered in hives and itching scratching all my skin off. Or wishing I could. There we go. Bob's your uncle's, Fanny's your aunt. That lot is in there. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Boom. As they say. Boom! Now, do I bother putting that panel back or not? What the hell, it's only going to take me 5 minutes, isn't it? Right, I am going to put this back. If it's anything like a house, and I would imagine it probably is, most of your heat will be lost, because heat rises, through the roof and the side walls, like a house. Which is why I didn't put very much insulation on the floor. Didn't really need to. Because I think only like sort of 10% heat is lost through the floor, which I'm sleeping on something raised anyway. Is this probably overkill for what is essentially going to be a work van? Probably. But everything's going to be modular. Now I've got the floor in. So if I want to take it out, or the racking and stuff I'm planning to put in here, it'll only be a sort of half hour, 45 minutes work just to take them, unbolt it, and out it pops. At least. That's how I think it's going to work. It probably won't. Quick and easy. That took a grand total of what? 10 minutes? Let's have a quick look at the time on the clock. How long have you been recording for, eh? 25 minutes that took. Just to do one side. That'll do for the day. I'll do the other side probably next week. Now, because it's getting late, it's about 7:30 now. Yep. I've still got to put all my tools back in the van, and I've got to get home, I've got to tidy up, have a shower, all the rest of it. So I think that'll do for the day. Although what I will first do, looking at it, is just trim these bits off with a knife. So they don't get caught up in something or in the way of something, and I end up ripping the whole lot out, because I don't want to do that. That'd be the last thing I'd want to do. And that bit is now actually probably only useful for the bin. There we go, that's that bit. You wouldn't even know I'd be. It's alright. Alright, there we go, done. Bye bye! Oh, welcome back. It's been about a week. So, first thing I'm going to be doing today is insulating this side. So, I don't have any cables or anything to put in here, so it should go a bit quicker than that one. Should just be a case of
put this panel off, put the panel off underneath, put the insulation in, put it back together again quick. And then hopefully once that's done, I have some time left. I'm going to make up some new cards for the back doors because they're a bit deceased. And then we'll look at doing the side doors potentially, and then, but shouldn't be a bad job for a weekend. It's only 3 o'clock on a Saturday. Maybe just sit down and put the time lapse on. So again, I use the thin insulation, the foil backed insulation that I used as a template last time, and actually use it as it's designed for, as actual insulation again. No point in wasting it. I'll reuse it. Should be enough left of that. As you can see, I've already put this in. That was left over from the last roll, so I've got another roll which I'll do the 2 side doors and 2 back doors with. Hopefully I don't die in the process, because I am full of either hay fever or flu, and I'm not sure which. Hoping it's hay fever. Certain seem to ease it. Put that bit in first. Done. Right. So seeing as previous owner of my van has decided to put a massive hole in this, and the other side is not much better, I'm going to pull these off and remake them. I've got some ply kicking around, which is going to be best in this MDF sheet anyway. And obviously if there's room for the insulation. Not sure what that's for. That's a bit of extra protection for the whatever, the locking mechanism for the door. Draw around that in a minute. If there's room to put the thick stuff, I'll put the thick stuff. If there isn't, then I'll put the thin stuff. But I think on the top of this door, I'll put some thin stuff behind this panel and put this panel back. So I'm going to put a bit of din rail on there, so I can mount some mount breakers to it. There's only so much I can do, and I've done quite a bit already on the sides of the van, the floor. Obviously I've got the two side doors to do. In most camper vans, obviously this would be a glass window anyway, which will let out even more heat than a plain metal sheet would, so be better than it was. I don't want to try and bring it out to get this behind it. There's no benefit to doing that, I don't think. Well, not a massive amount anyway. That's from when I cut the lock in. Drag you out here and you can see me work on the other bit. Okay. So yeah, this is a bit of, what would I say, 6mm ply, maybe 3, doesn't really matter. It's quite thin, but I'm only making sort of door cards out of it. So it's literally going to be a case of just draw around this, marry it up to the edge, and then cut round it. The last time my van decided to put big holes in the door cards, so this plywood will be a bit tougher than this very thin material that they were originally made out of. And with it being like this, it's a bit tougher. That means I can screw something to it if I need to or want to, which I might. I'm not sure that I will. Happy with that. Apart from a few wavy edges, I'd say that's about right. Lovely. Right, on to the next one then. Right, so my battery died. I'm not sure how much of it caught, but I made myself up a little router table just by clamping my router in this, and I've used my drill. And I've produced these out of plywood, 2 of them, using the old MDF ones as templates. And as you can see, they're fairly fragile. The MDF ones, as these are a little bit tougher. Now I'm going to go put them back in with insulation behind them. Right. So, it may not be the neatest thing in the world. I could sand it, I could plane it, I could run it along a bench sander, I could do all sorts with it to make it a bit straighter, but I can't be bothered, I don't need to. I think that side looks nicer, so that's the side that's going to be out. Now, hopefully everything lines back up. It should be sod law that it didn't. And just my luck too, typically. Hopefully all of that and that lot. Will allow me to fit this side out as well. If you can't already tell, I am fairly ill. Probably with hay fever, possibly a cold or flu. The one thing I know it's definitely not is COVID, because I've taken a test and it came back negative. Oh dear. On to the other side. Well, welcome back. Going to do this side door now. We'll also do the other one. So I'm going to do these before the, well, this panel's not too bad actually, it's got a dent in it. The other one's wrecked, so I'll get them both done. Right, let's insulate this door. Get that away from that. I didn't want you to roll down there when I chucked you. Hey. Are we sitting comfy on our botties? That splinter out my foot. Good start. Good start. Good game. Good game. This. Right. That. I hope there's enough for both doors. Possibly. Possibly not. Then we'll have to go and buy another one. I will if I have to, because I'm sure I'll find another use for it somewhere. There we go. That's that in that bit. That is not going to be long enough to do the other door. Great. Fantastic. Never mind. Finish that door at some other point then. Hey. What's going on this door? I don't know quite where the camera cut off, but obviously I've put this back now. It's got all the insulation behind it. I managed to do it without having to open the new roll, so I'm happy. Yeah. So that's done. I'm not quite sure where the camera cut off on me though. Hey. Anyway, on to the next little job, which I've decided I'm going to just do now rather than later, because why not? There we go. I'm going to cut some bits of this din rail, put them on there, probably 2 on that one, and then just use it to store spare breakers on, spare MCBs and RCBOs and whatnot. At least that's the plan. And then I'm going to start on insulating the roof. I'm going to do this now because I've got the bits. I've got a pile of breakers that are getting in the way of things in other places, so get it done. Especially now that that's insulated, I've got no reason not to. I'm not going to be super critical on the length on this, as long as it's obviously narrow enough to fit in there. Like so. Not going to be particularly careful about how straight the end is. I don't need it to be straight, I don't care. As long as it fits, it'll work. Definitely recommend this if you've got a lot of conduit to do, or lots of armoured cables to cut, things like that. Very, very useful. Very, very quick, as you just saw. Far quicker than doing it by hand. Far easier too. Right, let me go back in there. Wedge out of the way. Got some short screws and some cup washers here. Enough. One in the middle. Three's possibly overkill, but they are quite small, and this thing is going to shake around quite a bit. I don't want them falling off. That would just be annoying. It is currently threatening to rain, but I don't think it's going to. At least I hope it doesn't. Not enough hands, not enough hands. Always not enough hands. Look half bad. It's not straight, doesn't have to be. More than anything else, it's just somewhere to store stuff. Alright, maybe grab a few breakers. I'll probably throw a couple of these actually, because I don't think I'm ever going to use them. Come on, clip on. There we go. That looks like it's been leaked on. I think I'll bin that. It's got wet. Last thing you want is a breaker that's got wet. Probably still functions fine, but I'm not going to risk it. Now, as I sort my various boxes of bits out, as I find breakers, I'll just chuck them up there. I don't think I've got any more. Let's have a quick look through this box. I think this is all. Yeah, that's all the cleats for armoured. The odd a couple of dimmers. No point, nothing in there. Hopefully, eventually, I'll come up with a nice. I'll end up with a nice selection of spare breakers that I don't have to go rooting through boxes for. I can see them. Have I got one? No. Right. Off to the wholesaler. Oh, actually, yeah, I've got one. That'll do. Right. Set up for doing the ceiling now. See you in a bit.